So summary writing, you know how Miss Walker loves to use food as examples. It's a true story. So think of a great big dinner on the table. Summary writing, that food on the table, that great big dinner, that's a retell of a book where you tell all the main parts, not every little detail, but the main parts of the book. A summary is just a snack of what you read. So I don't need the whole dinner. I just need a little snack of what you read. And that's what a summary is. A summary is maybe 5 sentences long, maybe. So we are going to practice that today. I am using the next blank page of my not my writing spiral, my reading spiral. And I'm going to put today's date on it, which is November 19th. And I think I'm going to label this summary. And I will put the spelling and the date in the chat. For our example book today, I'm going to use a biography from our narrative nonfiction, Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. And we're going to read about Dr. Mae Jemison. And it says here she was an engineer, a physician, and an astronaut. So the first thing I'm going to do is read her biography to all of us. So you don't need to be writing anything down yet. We're going to listen to this and we're going to create a class summary together. Here we go. Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African-American woman astronaut. As a child, Mae loved to read, especially books about science and astronomy. By the time she was in kindergarten, she knew she wanted to become a scientist. This, however, did not keep her from her other passions. Mae also wanted to be a dancer, and throughout her youth, she studied every type of dance. In college in the 1970s, Mae double majored in chemical engineering and African American studies. When she learned about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., she saw his work as a call to action to help people. So after graduating, she decided to become a doctor. She joined the Peace Corps in 1983 and traveled to West Africa on a 2-year program to provide medical assistance to those in need. After returning, she saw 2 major changes taking place at NASA. In 1983, for example, Sally Ride became the first American woman in space. Mae had always imagined herself in space, but was hesitant to pursue that dream. But it was seeing the actress Nichelle Nichols play Lieutenant Uhura on the TV show Star Trek that finally inspired her to apply to the space program. In 1987, Mae became the first Black woman in the astronaut training program. And a few years later, she flew into orbit as the first African American woman in space. Mae still wanted to have a direct impact on people. So she left NASA in 1993 and created her own company, the Jemison Group, which researches ways technology can help people in their daily lives. She also started the Dorothy Jemison Foundation for Excellence, which in 1994 launched the Earth We Share, a science camp for children. So that is our quick biography on Dr. Mae Jemison. And I want us to think about this summary. And I am going to pull up the questions from our last seesaw. So the questions that I had you guys ask yourself were, why are they famous? And then you were to go back and find key parts in the book to show why they're famous and jot about it or flag those parts. And then ask yourselves, how do all the parts connect? Now, a lot of kids had trouble with this one because you haven't finished your biographies yet. So that's okay. We can only write about what we know. So let's practice. Why was Dr. Mae Jameson famous? If I'm writing my summary, I need to tell who I'm writing about. So I am going to be specific and use names. And I think I pronounced her last name wrong. It's Jemison. I think I said Jameson. Dr. Mae Jemison is famous because she she's still alive. So she is the first, and our book says African American, so that's the words I'm going to use. But remember that we learned in social studies that it's also okay to use the term Black. African American woman astronaut, period. Now, you don't need to write down exactly what I'm writing down right now. This is our model. You'll be writing about your own books. But do you see how when I get specific, my sentences get longer? So I said why she was famous. What else did we learn about her life in our little biography? What are the important parts of her life that we learned about in her biography? Here's my hint. If there are dates, names, maybe a name of a country someone's been to, or the name of a college that they've gone to, those are usually important parts that you want to reread. Those usually are pretty important. So, an event that I think might be important is that she studied chemical engineering and African American studies in college. I think I'm going to remember to write that down. Oh, she became a doctor after learning about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's important. She traveled to the Peace Corps in 1983. Oh, did you hear that? There was a date. That tells me that's probably important. In 1987, she became the first Black woman in the astronaut training program. That's important. And that was another date. She left NASA in 1993. There's another date. That's important. So, third graders, that's what I'm writing down in my summary. I lost my pen. So, I might say she studied chemical engineering and African American studies in college. Mae became a doctor after learning about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Oh, she joined the Peace Corps in 1983. Do you see how I'm writing that down? Those are facts that help us learn why she was famous. They're also important facts of her life. In 1987, Mae was the first Black woman in the astronaut training program. Those are all important events about our person. Now, my biography was really small, so they had to put a lot of information on one page. Many of you are reading longer books than one page. So you might be reading a little bit longer before you find important events. Today, while you are we're going to read first, and then after you're done reading today, I'm going to have you practice your summary writing again. We're not changing books, don't worry. You don't need to go back and erase what you already had. We are just going to start again today because we're adding more information to what we know with our reading, and you're going to write a new summary. I am going to open up breakout rooms so you can read quietly. At the end of our reading time, I'm going to have everyone come back to the main room. I will explain to you again what I expect you to do, and then I'll put you back in your breakout rooms to write. And you're going to write a summary, maybe even a better summary than we wrote the other day. Now, I know the questions don't mention that you need to explain why the person is famous, but you need to get, I mean, it does say why they are famous, but it doesn't say to use their name. That's what I meant. But I want you to use specifics while you are writing your summary. Now, remember, a summary isn't a big, huge, long piece of writing. It's maybe 4 or 5 sentences. Now, sentences don't need to be super short. You can write long sentences. Tell me about your person. Why are they famous? What are important key parts about their life that you've read so far? Remember my hint. If it has names or dates, it's probably important. If you're not ready to know how all the parts connect, excuse me, because you haven't written that much, that's okay. You can still write about why your person or your event is famous and give me details about it. Please use your text to help you if you can't remember. I do not expect you to have this all memorized. Another skill we are working on is learning how to go back into our text to find information.